Guys, welcome to the vlog. It is a new day today. Actually, we are not in New York City right now. Well, we're not in the city, really. We're in New York, but however, we're in a train station. We're in a train station. Which means we're headed to a complete different city. We're headed to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm excited to share that with you. So we'll be spending at least 2 days there. Then we're on a plane and head back to Tucson. So yeah. So we're gonna take you around and yeah, here we go.
There's Drexel University. That's where Andreas went.
Seriously?
Tickle.
Guys, we just arrived at 30th Street Station in Philadelphia. we're requesting an Uber, catching an Uber, heading to our hotel to check in. I hope you guys, the day's going absolutely good. It's been an absolute pain getting these YouTube videos up and uploaded. The Wi-Fi at the New York hotel is just absolutely terrible. So, and I'm just trying to get some of the videos up on YouTube on the train on the way here. And it was close, but I couldn't. It was just, so I'm gonna try my best to try to get up this trip. I got 2 videos getting uploaded, plus this one's with Mix at 3. Hopefully it'll be uploaded soon, and yeah, here we go. Alright guys, we're in some market for lunch. It is busy, it's packed, it is crazy. There's different restaurant stands everywhere. I mean everywhere, so it's...
They open up.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing next, but we just finished up some lunch, and we are headed somewhere, trying to find the way back. Alright. Alright guys, so we're about to enter the Independence Halls where George Washington and Adams lived, which was the first 2 presidents. So it's very historic. So we're gonna take it around and hope anything goes good. We're supposed to give tours, but I don't know. We'll find out.
So we're going to spend most of our time talking about the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Now in front of me, nice large lovely painting. I'm sure some of you have watched. Take a little look at it while we're loading in here. That is the assembly room. That is where it all happened. That is where I'm sure you want me to spend pretty much all my time in there. I'll get in there as soon as I can. That is the room where it all happened. Now the painting here shows you the signing of one of those 2 documents. I'm going to test you. I want to see what kind of history scholars I have amongst me. This, you may already figure out. It's the signing of one in particular document. If you know it, keep it to yourself. We're going to vote. Here's how it works. If you think it's the signing of the U.S. Constitution we're showing you in the painting, simply raise your hand. Anyone believe it's the Constitution? Please raise your hand. Last chance. Okay, here we go. Anyone believe it's the Declaration of Independence? Please raise your hand. Many more hands. Anyone willing to admit? I do not know. Okay, that's why I put the hands down. It is the Constitution. There are some somebody said something about more people. There are more people. If this was the Declaration, there would be more people. There are 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, 39 for the Constitution. The most obvious, easiest hint, if you can see it, I don't know, it depends on your eyesight, but there's one person in particular who should stick out like a sore thumb. Who is that?
Jefferson.
Oh, that's Washington. Jefferson is actually in France during the signing of the Constitution. If you're wondering about John Adams, another big guy, Adams is actually in England. 2 of the 2 biggest guys for the Declaration are not here for the Constitution. That's Washington. George Washington is a signer of the Constitution. He's in fact the president of the Constitution Convention. Later the first president, father of our country, all that other good stuff. But he is also briefly a member of what the history books call the Second Continental Congress, the guys who declare American independence. He's only here though for about 1 month. He arrives in May of '75. He's gone by June. What's he doing during the Revolutionary War? Since he's not here to declare independence, what's he doing?
General in the Army.
General in the Army. He's out fighting for independence. Again, I'm not trying to ask you hard questions, guys. Just trying to get you to think a little bit about this time. He's commanding the Continental Army. He's out fighting for independence. Well, That brief time he's here, though, Congress made some fairly important decisions, if you really start to think about it. This Continental Congress, they're called for peaceful reasons. They weren't called to run a war. They weren't called to declare our independence. That's what they do. But they were called to peacefully resolve by means of, well, the best weapon they had. They were going to do an economic boycott of all British goods. Problem is, by the time they arrive, we've already received word that fighting has broken out. The famous shots heard around the world at Lexington and Concord. We need to decide real fast, is that our concern? I'm down here in Philadelphia, why should I care? I mean, to us nowadays, the United States has gotten a lot smaller. What is Boston by car? Like 5-6 hours? You fly, pretty much by the time you get to cruising altitude, you're already starting to descend. It's like an hour or so, what have you. It's not that far. We're going to adopt that army as our own. It'll be a continental army, even though at this point it's about 90% New Englanders. Now we need to appoint one of our own. Washington. They appointed George Washington. Washington makes a lot of sense for a few reasons. Probably the biggest one, or at least the sixth in most people's minds, is where's Washington from?
Virginia.
Virginia. It's not New England. We want to show this is a fight of all 13 colonies. We can't pick someone from New England to command the army. We need someone from outside. Virginia is the most powerful of the 13 original colonies. He also makes sense for other reasons. He's a military veteran. He fought in something called the French and Indian War. He commanded a regiment of troops. He'd done pretty good at it. In fact, he spent most of his time here in Philadelphia wearing one of his old military uniforms. He wasn't advertising his services. He was showing his willingness, if necessary, to fight. Now, when he was nominated to command the army, what does Washington do? He walks out of the room. He doesn't want to be seen as angling for the job. I go, here, vote for me. Come on, you like me, vote for me. Come on. Virginia. You like Virginia, vote for me, vote for me. He doesn't want to be seen as politicking for this job. If he's meant for it, he's meant for it. He's nominated. He's approved. Now, when he left, he wrote a few letters. One of which is kind of important. It's a letter he wrote to his wife. Now, I don't know how many of you know anything about George Washington. There are hundreds, probably thousands of books written about him. One part of his life, George Washington's life, we know almost nothing about is his relationship. Against the king in Parliament. Accusation, one of which has to do with that famous catchphrase. I know you know it. No taxation without
Representation.
Exactly. We all know that phrase. One of those 27 dealt with taxes. Most of the rest is the legal system. So think about it. Where are you standing? You're in the public area, are you not? Public trials have been the rule in this country for over 250 years. What else do you need for a trial? You need a jury, right? Juries come in handy. This is the grand jury box. Trial juries sit over there. What else do you need? Judges, right? You do need judges. Judges sit up there. What about a witness? Occasionally witnesses in trials, they're over here. What about lawyers? You need lawyers. There's only one table here. Is that how we do things? No, we split them up. We kept most of it, but we slowly over time alternated to suit our purposes. But probably the biggest change, the proverbial 800-pound gorilla in the floor. Guys, in the middle of the trial, who do you think would have been in this? The accused, the defendant, the one on trial, right? All correct answers. This is called a prisoner's dock. If you're on trial here for a crime, you do not sit next to your lawyer in your Sunday best. You are required to stand trial. Literally, stand. And not face you guys. I gotta face the court. Now, last quick little question before I move on. Guys, what do you think the rule is? Am I innocent until proven guilty, or guilty until proven innocent? Let's vote one more time. Who here thinks I'm guilty until proven innocent? Who here thinks I'm guilty? Come on. Come on. You know it. Come on. Last chance. Guilty. Who here thinks I'm guilty? Who here thinks I'm innocent until proven guilty? I think innocent has it just by a hair. Actually, I am innocent until proven guilty. I may look a heck of a lot more guilty. Might have been one of the reasons we finally did away with this here in this country. The British still use it in some fashion. But the most important thing I want you to remember that really relates to what happens across the hall, there's something that occurred here. On the 8th of July, 1776, following the first ever public reading of something you may have heard of called the Declaration of Independence. It occurred right out back here. We actually have the actual copy of the Declaration they used. It's next door in the West Wing. Following that reading, 9 members of the local militia unit stormed the building. They come in, they stand where you're standing, they look upon, well, not that. That big painting was done in 1785. That's the state seal of Pennsylvania. What they saw, this. Who's this represent? Okay. Coat of arms is torn off, carried into the streets, paraded around for several hours before it is unceremoniously destroyed, burned, basically it's burned. Along with many other symbols of royal authority, trying to show we're no longer subjects of His Majesty King George III, but more importantly, trying to rally support to an idea you may be familiar with, called independence, which occurred not in this room, not in that room. It's probably the most historically important room in this country, because this is where this country was born. Beginning in May of 1775, 13 separate sovereign colonies would enter this room. When all is said and done, one fragile but united set of states would depart. In June, they sent Washington right out here to command the army. In July of 1775, we actually sent a note to King George III, known as the Olive Branch Petition. In the most humble of subservient terms, we beg, we plead with the king to intervene on our behalf. The king ignores us. He declares us an open rebellion before we're willing to admit it for ourselves. He begins to hire those infamous German mercenaries, the heads of the prosecutors who are here in America. He dispatches his largest and best weapon, the Royal Navy, to help sweep the seas clean of any American merchant vessels. Yet still these men hold back. Still, why did it take them so long to finally declare independence? Well, try to put yourselves in their shoes, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. I know we love that phrase, no taxation without representation. Well, think about it from this point. Compared to those people in England, we paid almost nothing in taxes. And we have probably one of the highest standards of living, what we would think of as the British Empire. And I know, yes, I would fully agree, our rights are being abused. We are treated as second-class citizens. But compared to the rest of the world, we had an incredible amount of personal freedom and liberty. So risk all of that, everything you know, everything you own, everything you have, everything you know to be true, your lives potentially, on the chance for something a little bit better. I don't know about you, I want to be darn sure. In January of 1776, a pamphlet was published right here in Philadelphia, originally anonymously, by an out-of-work British tax collector. Got kind of a catchy title, you may have heard of it, called Common Sense. Thomas Paine wrote in fairly simple, plain language about the absurdity of a tiny island 3,000 miles away trying to rule half the continent. But it's not until June of 1776. It's been a year since Washington left. It's been over a year since Lexington conquered. Before they introduce a resolution simply calling for independence. We can now openly talk about it, which we do for about 2-3 days before they stall. Because they realize if we are going to do this, we need to tell the world why we're doing this. That's the purpose of the Declaration of Independence. Why we want our independence. Prove to people that this is the right fight at the right time. They actually appointed a committee of 5 guys to write the Declaration. You should know 3 of them. Who wrote most of the Declaration? Thomas? There's another guy, I've already mentioned his name. John? Yes. Last guy is Bostonian. Likes to fly kites and play lightning storms. And Franklin. Now Jefferson does the lion's share of the work. But Franklin and Adams help him edit. Get it down to what they think would be the best. Or they turn it in. Congress says, yeah, we're not ready for it yet. They're still debating independence. There are still states that are refusing to vote yes. There's still men in the room who think we're moving too fast. One of the last states to flip is Pennsylvania. They voted within delegation. 4 opposed, 3 in favor. 2 men, though, you may have heard of them. A guy named Robert Morris, known as the financier of the Revolution. And another man named John Dickinson, famous for his letters from a Pennsylvania farmer. 2 men who were in favor of American rights and liberties, but could not at this point bring themselves to count those faithful votes. But they didn't want to stand in the way of history. Try to put yourselves in their shoes. What do? They say on those last few votes, we just won't be here. We'll step out of the room. So on July 2nd, they vote for independence. I did say July 2nd. They vote July 2nd, July 3rd, July 4th. They debate the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson, for all he would want, could say it was perfect until the cows were home. He's going to prove it to these men. They're going to have their.
So guys, this is a little dark in here. I'll try my best to try to get some light. So, yeah.
Now, folks, this is one of the original buildings here in the block. It's a little bit younger than Independence Hall, though. This is built in 1787 to be a county courthouse, which it was for about a year. And then they found out Philadelphia would be the temporary capital of the United States. So the county lent this building out to the U.S. Congress. And they ran from 1700 to 1800. Excuse me. And this is while they're building Washington, D.C. So this was the U.S. Capitol building for 10 years. Now this whole first floor is the House of Representatives. So these are all the congressmen. The Senate met on the 2nd floor, and we'll see that in just a moment. Now when they started here, there were only 65 congressmen. When they left, they had 106. And there's 2 reasons why the numbers went up. First of all, they added 3 new states to the original 13. They added Vermont, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So they became states, they sent congressmen here. And then on top of that, in 1790, they did the first census, where they count everybody in the country. And it took them about 3 years to finish counting. They had to find everybody. But when they were done, they discovered the population was double from what they thought it was. And since the number of congressmen your state gets depends on the population, that doubled the numbers in this room all the way up to that 106. Now they do accomplish a lot in this time. This is where the Bill of Rights was made part of our Constitution, giving us all personal freedoms and liberties we use every day: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, and all the others. Also, the first U.S. Mint was started here. Up to that point, every state had its own money, and that wasn't working too well. Because every time you crossed the state line, you had to exchange your currency, just like you were going to a whole other country. And what was happening is every state was saying the other state's money wasn't worth as much. So everybody's using cash. Now, it's Alexander Hamilton that started the Mint, and along with that came the first bank of the United States, got us all in the same type of money, and that really helped stabilize this country quite a bit. Now, this building has also seen 2 presidential inaugurations. George Washington serving as the second term as president upstairs in the Senate above us, and then right back here on this platform is where John Adams was president. And that was a new every day, because it's the first time the power of this country changed hands from one person to another. And that's something they're not used to. So they want all that power. This is a time when most countries are still being run by kings or queens. And there's only 2 ways you get that job. Either inherited, or if you don't like the king, well, you gotta kill him and take the job. That's what they're used to. So on the day that John Adams was sworn in, the public gallery, which is right above you folks there, that was filled with people from all around the world. And there were about 2,000 people outside here. Now, a lot of these people came to see the riots they thought would break out here. And some of the people out there may even be wondering if George Washington was going to come in with the army to kill off John Adams for desking chairs are reproductions of what the congressman used. That's why you get to sit there when they're not that old. The items behind me here, though, are authentic. Now, up here on the platform is the Speaker of the House, who at this time was a man named Augustus Muhlenberg from Pennsylvania. Wow, these are actually
Almost done. There we go. What? Ducks everywhere. Oh, ducks everywhere. Along there. What, Ryan?
because of all those injuries. I'd like to sit down. Okay, well, folks, as you can tell, senators had it much nicer. Now, this is just like today with 2 senators from every state. And this does represent the 16 states they had when they left Philadelphia. So there's 32 senators here. Now, the Vice President of the United States is also President of the Senate. And in this time period, you would have seen both John Adams and then Thomas Jefferson up at that head table there. Now, we don't let people sit in these chairs because most of these are the original senators' chairs, and that includes the Vice President's seat in the front. Now, the eagle on the ceiling, that's original to the building. It's painted right into the plaster. It also shows up here on the carpet, right in the middle. Now, the carpet is a reproduction of what was here at that time, and around the eagle on the carpet, you're going to see 13 rings, and these represent the...
Your head to the Liberty Bell.
Ask your mom and tell her.
Alright guys, here it is. Here's the Liberty Bell of America. Right here from where they got it, or Lewis and Clark, I believe, made it. I think. Yeah. Guys, thanks for following on the first day of Philadelphia. This is the end of today's vlog. I'm currently watching the Tony Awards on TV, as well as uploading a vlog, as well as editing this one. So it's currently like 8:30 right now. But thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last day here in Philly. And then we're off back to Tucson, Arizona, our home place on earth. All right? Thanks, guys. And we'll see you tomorrow.